Starting to heat up, ladies and gentlemen, and one of the most creative scores in the W.
Starting to go on a rampage here. They've cut it to 5.
And with the first overall selection in the 2023 NHL Draft, the Chicago Blackhawks are very proud to select from the Regina Pats, the Western Hockey League, Connor Bedard.
What is going on, everybody? This is Mike Hughes from Mike on the Mic, or as you always know, from Skytown, from Skyline, another Chicago Sky podcast. We're bringing it live today. We have a special episode today. It's why we're doing it on Mike on the Mic. These are always ones that, I enjoy the most because you get to find out everybody's story, who they are, where they're from, the difference between North and South Philly. We're going to get into it. I'm here with player development coach Chaz Franklin. Chaz of the Chicago Sky, we appreciate you for joining the show, brother.
Oh, thanks for having me, Mike.
Man, I want to ask you right now, off the bat, how was break, bro? How was Las Vegas? What was it like? Talk to me about WNBA All-Star 2023.
WNBA All-Star 20. Look, I'm still recovering from Vegas, right? It was an absolute movie for both the players, the fans. All the celebrities came out. Dwayne Wade and his lovely wife, Gabrielle Union, was there. Kehlani was there, performed at halftime. Allen Iverson was in the building for the game. Kevin Durant was in the building for the game. BG got it done. Kalia Copper went nuclear with the pull-up jumper representing the Chicago Sky. There wasn't a seat left available in the house. They had just a wonderful interactive fan experience at the convention center. So for me, that being my first WNBA All-Star weekend, it was something that I'll never forget. I took tons of pictures. I won't be revealing any of them because what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, of course.
Come on, that's the way it's got to be. It's just like at the end of The Hangover, they're looking at all the camera photos and never spoke of them, but always check them out.
Right.
Looking at that though, man, I wish I could have been a part of it. Last year was a blast in Chicago. We had an absolute ball. Ka being a part of that for her third time was so special. I would have been there with you, man. I ain't gonna lie. We could have shared a seat on the airplane, but I checked out the weather. Saw that was about 114 on the day. I said, that's not Mike Hughes weather. That's not Mike Hughes weather. I'm good on that. I'm okay.
It was burning up out there, but you know what? We survived because, you go right from the hotel to the Uber to the event. So it's not like I'm outside walking up and down the strip. So we were able to survive and, stay hydrated and try to just be cool, man.
Without a doubt. Before we get into everything Chicago Sky, Kalia Copper, and all that transpired, I want to talk more about you, finding out who you are, born in South Philly. Can you kind of take me through what it's like growing up there? Everybody watching right now, obviously, north side, south side, west side, whatever the hell is going on the east side. It's just a lake. But basketball runs through everybody's veins in Chicago. Can you kind of just take us through what's the world like in Philly in the basketball community?
In the city of Philadelphia, man, basketball at the grassroots level it's like religion, man. We have, I know you guys have passionate, loyal fans here in Chicago, and it's not unlike Philadelphia in a sense that, we were born in it, raised in it, molded. But I sound like Bane off of Dark Knight Rises. That's who I sound like, right?
Created the darkness, huh?
Oh, yeah, right. Look, in Philadelphia, basketball is everything, from Little League basketball games through AAU games, of course, high school. And we have the Big Five and the City Six, which are 6 Division I universities. kind of in the Philadelphia area. Once again, similar to here, right?
Mm-hmm.
They go to war and try to kill each other all winter. And whoever is left standing at the end of the battle, that's the winner. So that's how I was raised in this game. It's a prideful, athletic city, just across the board. But certainly basketball is the home of Wilt Chamberlain and Earl Monroe and Kobe Bryant. So we're very prideful Philadelphians when it comes to the city of basketball. And like Chicago, we pride ourselves on toughness first,
Mm-hmm.
right? And everything else second. So it's just a natural fit for both Kalia and myself to be here in Chicago. I think it's like a match made in heaven and a perfect marriage, to be honest.
Without a doubt. And I will like to take a little credit too, as an Italian. Kobe Bryant was first and foremost an Italy boy. So I will always throw that out there. I will let it be known that the bean definitely does dabble in some Italian festivities.
Absolutely.
Um, but no, man, I mean, I love that. And that's really what it was. And you hit it on the head. And guys just going to war on these blocks, going to war in these streets, and finding that peace. And I feel like it's just such a beautiful thing, because it gets crazy on the court too. You see a
Oh,
lot of physicality, and you see a lot of pent up anger and a lot of aggression coming out in such positive ways. You take an elbow to the eye socket every now and again, and it's not always positive, but it's definitely better than the alternative of that. For
absolutely.
you, when did you get into basketball, and really who was your mentor to guide you through that?
Well, I started playing basketball in the fourth grade on a milk crate that we tied to a schoolyard gate. That's what we had. I come from humble beginnings. Similar to Kalia, of course, just maybe a decade or two before her, and that's just how we come up. We didn't. I didn't start going to the basketball court like the actual schoolyard until maybe sixth grade, but up until that point, we were playing on a milk crate, and we loved it, man. My big brother and I, God rest his soul, we would get a milk crate, and you would use my grandmother's butcher knife to kind of cut part of the bottom of the milk crate out, and then use a hammer and like bang out the bottom of it, right? And we would tack it to the wall, or nail it to the wall, or tie it to the gate. And we was out there. I mean, you would have thought we were playing in the United Center the way we would play. We would play all morning, all night, and come home. And my grandmother would make me take a bath. Showers weren't invented yet, so she would say, "Oh, get in the tub because you smell like outside." And I just loved it, man. So that's how I got my beginning. My initial mentor is a legendary Philadelphia basketball figure by the name of Mr. Bill Williams. He was an integral part of my development. I lived maybe a half a block away from him growing up, and he would take all of the inner city kids. And we would play like in-house leagues, like local leagues in the neighborhood, and maybe some of the better kids he would take to put us in like the citywide league, which was called Total Response at the time. And that's when I got my real first taste of like, where basketball can actually take you. So, much of my success, I credit to him on this journey that got me here to Chicago.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. I mean, and I tell this all the time to everybody, like, grew up playing baseball, didn't have my own baseball glove until I was probably like 15, 16 years old.
Right.
And that's just how it was. You become, I mean, for myself, like, you become a great outfielder when you don't got a glove. And now it's like it's a luxury when I just have a glove. And we've had conversations with so many individuals. I remember I spoke to Dana about her first real pair of basketball shoes and when that came into fruition. And it's different when you're just playing in normal sneakers versus an actual pair of basketball shoes. And that was just a couple years back, and she's come such a long way since, and you love to see it. But getting into that, really breaking it down and understanding the big pillars that you guys had. I got to speak to Julius Irving not too long ago. It was about a month ago. It was me and Cube, and we were doing the big three, and hearing what he had to say about Philly and what that meant for him. I was like, dude, like, he was like, "Oh, you could just call me Julius." I'm like, "No, you're Dr. J, bro. Like, you're like, what are we talking about?" And it's the same conversation about Mike. Like, I was born in 2000, so Michael Jordan is obviously a ghost to me. I just know all the stories. You feel his presence in the arena, but he's a pillar, and somebody for me is Derrick Rose. You look at those pillars of guys who come from those humble beginnings and really just make the best of it. But some things that people don't hear about a lot is obviously the overseas play. the FIBA, FIBA doing their thing over there. You played 14 and a half years overseas basketball. I kind of want to talk to you about that. Obviously, I was looking Colombia, El Salvador, Iceland, Finland. You're looking at, oh my, what was, I forgot the one that it was on my mind this whole time. Guatemala,
Yeah.
like Saudi Arabia, like
Right.
you went through all these transactions, and obviously we can sit here all day and probably talk about each individual interaction. But I just wanted to ask you, with all of those culture settings and all those different tones that you were going into, what was that like, and how did it kind of change your life far more than just the game of basketball?
Well, the first thing is that, when you come from where I come from, um, I come from Section 8 housing and a family being on WIC, right? So that's government assistance. So
Okay.
I never would have imagined in a million years that I would be able to travel all around the world, playing this game and getting paid to play this game. That I played for free for so long. So I always took it just as a blessing. I always tried to keep it in the forefront of my consciousness that, I would play this game absolutely for free, and the fact that they're going to pay me to do it,
It's even better.
I mean, it was a cherry on top for me. In terms of how it kind of molded me and affected me, it gave me the opportunity to just see different cultures and learn how to relate to people. Um, People are so different all around the world, and yet we're all the same. So I've made so many great friends just throughout the world. I mean, I'm a Christian, you know what I mean, by title, and I lived in Saudi Arabia for 7 months, which is a predominantly Islamic country. Actually, it's the epicenter of Islam.
Yeah. Capital of the world.
Absolutely right. So I've been to Mecca and Medina and Philadelphia. We have a huge Islamic population. I think the biggest African American Islamic population in America is actually in Philadelphia. So it gave me an opportunity to just get an up close and personal look behind the beliefs of some of my fellow Philadelphians. We don't share the same belief system, but I like to be well informed and tolerant of everyone's belief and accepting as well. So, just living there and living in Latin America and learning Latino culture. And I'm credited as being the first American point guard to ever play professional basketball in El Salvador.
Mhm.
Right. So that was a blessing for me, just being a pioneer in that particular lane and opening up another door, for guys that aren't 6'7" and play the four, for guys regular size. I'm 5'10", right?
Yeah.
So to open up a door for other Americans and give guys an opportunity to be able to go and continue their career. And a number of guys from Philadelphia went on to play in El Salvador. I guess after I played, so it opened up a lane for people, and that's what means the most to me, to be honest.
Yeah, without a doubt. And even myself, like I'm coaching baseball a lot, and growing up in Chicago, being one of the only white kids in my high school, in the neighborhood, wherever it may be, you learn a lot about so many different aspects and so many different walks of life. So for you going to all these different countries, learning all these different things, I feel like it makes you a better coach at the same time too, because you never know who's going to be on your roster. And especially in the WNBA, I mean, they are the one of one when it comes to taking international players. You're seeing the Lucas and the Giannis's, but the W's been doing that forever. And I think that's something that they're like, oh, we're creating international teams. And I'm like, no, like the W's been doing it forever. You guys just haven't been paying attention. And I think that's a part of the beautiful thing when you can speak so many languages, you can have these different conversations and understand their humble beginnings versus our humble beginnings, which sometimes theirs are a lot more humbler than ours are.
Ooh.
I mean, in crazy ways.
You don't know poor until you know third world country poor.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in places in Latin America, like Guatemala, like Central America, Guatemala, and El Salvador, and certain places in Colombia, man, where guys are walking around without shoes, man. Right? I spent the summer in Dominican Republic working out and doing some stuff with some teams there, and big baseball.
Yeah.
I don't know, not island, I guess, country. And so the neighborhood that I lived in, I was there for basketball, but I fraternized with the locals, quote unquote, all the time. And they had a big baseball field out there near where Albert Pujols was raised. I was in his old neighborhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those kids were out there, right? And they were 5 years old, 6 years old, right? And they would have a tire, man, hanging from a tree branch, right? And it wasn't a baseball bat; it was like a log they were using, right? And they were just hitting this thing all. I mean, when I say all day, man, because they was across the street from my house, whack, whack, and they're like basically trying to use baseball to uplift themselves from poverty. And I had experienced the same thing, just playing basketball in South Philadelphia. And so, to just get to see where people come from and be able to relate. I mean, Sika Kone and our team here with the Sky, she's from Mali, right? So I've had a number of African teammates, particularly when I played in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. And Alana Smith is from Australia, right? And a number
Big
of
odds.
Right, yeah, yep, there you go. So I've had Australian teammates, so I kind of understand part of their mindset and their mentality. And all of our players, I believe, except for Taylor, who's a rookie this year, they've all spent time playing over in Europe and Asia, and so it's we have a very eclectic group in that way. And the WNBA has kind of been the front runner for diversity, I think, in American pro sports.
Yeah, without a doubt. And something I always say, this was never like, and kind of like you said, I'm down to do it for free. I always played baseball for free. I'd always play football for free, basketball, whatever it was. I'm down just for whenever. Like, I'm in so many beer league softball teams right now, you wouldn't even know. Like, right after we do post game interviews with the Sky, I'm gone. Like, I'm going to go play against some 60-year-olds in some beer league. But like, one thing, like I like to think is like, you're holding, and this goes for basketball, whatever, you're holding millions of dollars in your hand. You're holding an industry, you're holding a business. And that's the side of it that, I really didn't start to understand, that when we can make money off of this thing, and we can really just make a whole new brand of something that's never been done before. And you're starting to see that with the W and all these contracts and the NIL deals between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark and Haley right now. They're absolutely incredible. And I love seeing Angel Reese win, because when Angel Reese is winning, there's a bunch of haters out there losing, and I love to see it. But it's definitely something that's coming along so quickly, and it's been so important. But I want to get into with you, talking about Kalia and really breaking that down with the involvement of the Chicago Sky coming into the fold earlier this April. What really went into that with you guys as a whole? Not so much the Chicago Sky, but just how you two were introduced, how that came about.
Well, Kai and I, we're both from the city of Philadelphia. We have a mutual friend named Keisha Hampton, who actually went to DePaul University and played for the Sky. Before Keisha and I met in 2018, and we hit it off on the basketball court, and I ended up helping her with the workouts during the summer. I was kind of wrapping up my career during that time, and she was coming off of an injury. So, we built a family-like bond during that time through our training, and through Keisha, I met Kai. They have a camp every summer in Philadelphia. Called the 2K Elite Camp. It's Keisha and Kalia. So those are the 2Ks. And Kai hit me up after camp this past, I guess, last summer. And she said, "Hey, you know what? I'm not going over to Europe this off season. Can we work out together?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. Let me check my schedule first." And I checked. I'm free. I mean, I think I'll be free. I think I can make time for you. And I just never imagined in a million years that would lead to me being here with the Sky. It was something that I had been doing for probably the second half of my career anyway, during my playing career, just working out with different players, particularly younger players, because it gave me an opportunity to give back and reinvest into the next generation. And then B, it kept me young. I played professional since I was 40 years old. So, I can't work. I didn't have other 40-year-olds to work out. So I was with 21-year-olds and 22-year-olds. And Kai was just an extension of that. I didn't really work out with her at this point. But it was just a natural fit as far as personality wise. Her grandmother meant everything to her in her life. My grandmother meant everything to me. We lost them, and we had to learn how to overcome despite that. We share the same scripture on our tattoo on our Philippians 4:13, right? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So, to some degree, it's like standing on a soapbox, professing your faith, and then in another token, it's like, you know what? I believe in myself, like I believe in God, but I believe that I could do whatever it is that I need to do, right? Come hell or high water. We both share that, so that's both in our personality. And she's from North Philadelphia, and I'm from South Philadelphia, and traditionally, historically, when I was coming up, we were like mortal enemies.
Right.
Like that was a thing in Philadelphia. You couldn't just be a South Philly guy and just be up North Philly or be from North Philly and just hang out downtown. But I think that we had a greater purpose together, and we just hit it off immediately, man. And she just really leaned into the work all off season, and we just got it done, day after day after day, and just trying to speak into her life and just help her to unlock the rest of her potential. I mean, she came to me already. She was Finals MVP and WNBA champion. So I'm not foolish enough to think that I can take quote. You know how people try to do take credit, right, for Kalia Copper. She showed up as a McDonald's All-American, Philadelphia legend, and Kalia Copper. My thing was just to help her take just the next progressive step, which was her becoming more of a jump shooter. She's got all the heart in the world. She's North Philly tough, and she'll put her head down and run through that wall 100 straight times, and that's who she is. I wanted her to take the next step, similar to like how Michael Jordan had to take that step of developing her pull-up jumper game, her perimeter game, because she's not an old player, right? We want to be always ahead of the curve and thinking about where we're going.
The longevity of it.
Longevity, right? So we wanted her to take less of a penalty. I knew she'd have a more featured role this year. So we worked on her perimeter game, pretty much all off season. And Ann Crosby from the Sky and former GM and head coach James Wade, they came down to Philadelphia to visit Kai, and we met, during that meeting when they came down, and we went to a Sixers game, and we went out to eat, and we had cheesesteaks, and we hit it off. And then the Sky and the Bulls, they had a NBA Paris game. I guess that was in February, and they invited me to come. And so I went, and so we got the week to just, for a week, just sit down and talk and vibe and talk about the game and our ideas about it. And not long after, James offered me the position with the Sky, and I was just blown away. And of course, I get to be here, with Kai. She's like family to me, so it was a no-brainer for me, and here we are today.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. And that's one thing I loved about James is, there's no animosity to most fans. There's no animosity towards anybody throughout that building, because he took an opportunity that you can't say no to. He wanted to compete at the highest level, and that's obviously where he's at right now for in his career. But one thing I loved about him was he listened and he heard what you had to say. If Candace Parker said, "Listen, I think we need to go after Emma Meeseman," he was after it. If Kalia Copper said, "Listen, I have this guy who's training me right now, I want to introduce you," he was willing to be open to those things. And I think that's what makes a team into a family. And that's when you start to see those. There's some scary motherfuckers out there, man. Like, to be real, like you have those teams that like Dewana Bonner and Alyssa Thomas have an amazing relationship, and that those two are going to war for each other every single night in Connecticut. And how the New York Liberty are pad up, and everybody else, like even in Las Vegas, everybody's coming together. And with the Chicago Sky, I feel like that's finally starting to come together. You're really starting to see, throughout the history of its tenure, you haven't really seen an organization that's been taken seriously until the last few years under James Wade and company. So it's been a beautiful thing to see, man. And I love that you've entered the fold, because, again, bringing in people who don't just understand the game, but understand so many things that are just bigger than the game. Obviously, so many things, so many different pieces have been moving throughout the season between Izzy and Wade and Rebecca and everybody else. But, the facts remain the same, that, Courtney's still down for Ka's still down for Courtney. Y'all are still down for each other. We're all just standing here and we're like, at the end of the day, we know what the finished product is supposed to be. But for you right now, I did want to ask, what was that like for you, with the whole James Wade situation? You don't need to speak on your personal opinions about it, but just like those couple of weeks and just trying to figure out what was going on.
Yeah. For me, it was a bittersweet thing for me. because on one hand, I'm just happy and elated that he would get this opportunity. Having known him since what, maybe last October. We spent a number of time just talking on the phone, and you would think that we would have known each other for years.
Mhm.
We never had a 5-minute conversation. We only had 2-hour conversations, like every single time. And we talked about his family and his son and his wife, and we talked about, hey, he was, hey, boy, I like that Mabry, man. What you think? And I'm like, yeah,
Man.
I really think. Oh, what you think about Courtney Williams? Yeah, I'm like, yeah, that's the kind of person you need to go to war with. You think it's gonna be her? Probably her and Kyle when they was wrestling for the ball. I'm like, no, that was good. That was two alphas going for the ball. That's what we need. We need to represent Chicago in that way. So for James Wade, he was it still remains, a mentor
Mhm.
to me, like an older brother figure to me. Obviously well accomplished. Um, in 2019, what, Coach of the Year, I believe,
Yep.
champion 2021, Executive of the Year 2022. For somebody like me, particularly being African American, you know, I don't always come from a place where you have positive role models that look like me and who come from where I come from. Right? He's not from South Philadelphia, but he's from Memphis. As a matter of fact, he's from North Memphis. Right?
Man.
So when he came to Philadelphia, North Philadelphia, and we went out to the schoolyard, I gave him some of the history of that schoolyard. It was on 33rd and Diamond. We call it the Mecca, and there was a lot that went on out there, and he understood, and I understood that he understood, right? So we had that synergy naturally. So I continue to wish him and his family all the best, and I understand why he had to do what he had to do. Um, at the same time, I think he prepared the staff and prepared the players to keep going forward. We've been forced into a next man or like next woman up mentality all year with the injuries that you spoke on already with Isabel Harrison and Rebecca Gardner. We've had other players out at different times.
Mhm.
Other players have had to step up. Robin Parks comes off the bench. Last game and gives you 14 points out the blue. Right? You're not expecting it,
Killing
but
it.
you know players 1 through 12 or however many. There were times we were playing with 8 and 9. Right?
Right.
It was like AAU. But at the end of the day, this is the city of Chicago, and I am a Philadelphia guy, right? But it's the same mentality, and
Mhm.
I think that I can speak for everyone in the organization, as well as the city of Chicago, that we don't have any intention of just going quietly into the night.
No.
So we need to battle into the very end, and that's just what it is. And I think that's the mentality that James also helped instill into this organization during his tenure here. So, those are my thoughts on the whole situation.
100%. I mean, I remember my first interaction with James, not media wise. We were just kicking it on the court in the pregame. It was like about 2 years ago before they went on the finals run. And I walked up to him and he was like, "Hey, how you doing? How's everything going?" And I was like, "Hey, man, like, how you feel about Jaren Jackson?" He turned over and he looked at me. He said, "What do you know about Jaren Jackson, bro?" And I was like, "I'm paying attention to Grizz, bro. Come on, big Memphis, bro. You got it. Come on."
Mm-hmm.
And it just opened up a whole new version of him that you typically don't see. And I love that because you got to see that genuine version of him, not just just talking when saying what he needed to say, to the media, but we had a genuine conversation. And yeah, I just always try to reiterate that there's no animosity ever towards anybody on this side. I feel like we all feel the same way. We're just so happy for him and what he's been able to do. It would have been great to finish the year out with him, but you got to do what you got to do. And one thing I love that Ka said the other day when she finished her press conference with Seattle was, they're ready to go to war. And I told you this earlier when we were texting. I was like, they better pray to God that Izzy can't come back or that Bex can't come back, because if they come back, it's going to be a problem. Let them get into the playoffs with those two healthy, or at least an idea of a timeline of, hey, at some point, if we get past this round, maybe we got them for next, and that's that conversation. You see my Chicago Bulls are in right now. Let Lonzo Ball get healthy. Let's see what happens. And that's a whole different world. But looking at that and understanding, like, we have the formula and we have the right success that we want to do. We just gotta wait. We just gotta wait and see and do what we're doing. But Chaz, bro, I appreciate you for coming on today, man. I mean, really quickly, I want to see if you have your social media accounts up open for you right now. Where can everybody find you? Where can they find your pages or anything you got going on?
Right. It's at Coach Chaz Franklin on both Instagram and Twitter. I think those are the ones. I mean, I do have a Facebook page that's kind of outdated. All our ladies on the team, they tell me I'm old for having Facebook. So I think IG, and Twitter are the best. And that's where you can find me. And of course, there's always the option of you guys pulling up to a Chicago Sky game right down at Wintrust Arena. I'm down to have conversations with anybody. I love interacting with the people of Chicago. I love to hear what you guys think. It's always been something that I did during my playing career and during my coaching tenure as well. I think that it's important that we represent the people. You guys are unique people, unique fan base here in Chicago. Your reputation extends all the way to the East Coast when I was coming up. So, I like to know what Chicago is, how you guys think, how you feel, what it is, what product you want to see out there on the floor, because it matters to me and it matters to us.
Without a doubt. You guys can check them out. They will be playing against the Dallas Wings. I believe, what is it, Wednesday? We're going to Dallas?
No, we're going to leave Thursday morning and we'll play Friday and then Sunday.
Friday and then Sunday, back-to-backs against Dallas. It's going to be a lot of fun. You guys definitely check that out. We got a lot of away games this month, but that just means it's even more of a reason for you to come to as many home games as possible because the playoff stretch is coming. Again, this is Chaz Franklin from the Chicago Sky. I am Mike Hughes from the Skyline Network. You are listening to the ASAP Network. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll definitely be back another day. Peace.
Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays.